All right, let's talk about something most of us do, but maybe not as well as we could: expense reviews. We're going to dig into why that big end of month scramble might actually be creating more problems than it's solving. And more importantly, how a simple little shift to a weekly rhythm can totally change the game for your team's financial health. You know the feeling, right? You've blocked out the time, you're ready to be responsible, you open up the report, and bam, there it is, a $400 charge labeled miscellaneous from 3 weeks back. And just like that, your responsible review turns into a full-blown investigation. And then the questions just start piling up. Wait, what was this $68 subscription for? Was it new? A renewal? Which project needed it? Who even asked for this? See, after a whole month, all those little details just get fuzzy. You're not reviewing anymore. You're basically interrogating a spreadsheet. And that right there is the monthly expense headache. The whole traditional approach basically forces you to put on a detective hat. And all that detective work, it's a huge waste of time. It creates friction, and honestly, it often leads to budgets that are just plain wrong. This analogy is just perfect. For most teams, it really is like a dentist appointment. It's this monthly chore you know you have to do, but you absolutely dread it. You brace yourself for the pain, you're so relieved when it's over, and then you try your best to forget about it until next month. And here's why it's so painful. You're staring at this giant wall of transactions, and all the context is just gone. After 30 days of spending, let's be real, you can't remember half of it. So the whole thing just becomes a mess of guesswork and confusion, and you're right back to playing detective. So what's the alternative? Well, it's all about the weekly advantage. And this isn't about working more. It's about a fundamental shift in your thinking, from being a financial archaeologist digging up the past to proactively managing things in real time. And I mean, look at the difference. Instead of playing detective, it's just a quick confirmation. Instead of being backward looking, you get real-time control. And that dreaded 3-hour chore, it turns into a simple 20-minute habit. It's a no-brainer. Now, one of the biggest wins here is catching those little mistakes early. Because in the world of finance, tiny, innocent errors have this nasty habit of snowballing into massive, complicated problems. This timeline just says it all. In week 1, someone mislabels a travel expense. No big deal. It just sits there. But by the time you spot it at the end of the month, your reports are all skewed. And fixing it means digging through old emails and asking people what they remember from weeks ago. It becomes that dreaded Friday afternoon problem that nobody wants to deal with. But if you're doing a weekly check-in, you catch that same exact error just a few days later. Everyone's memory is still fresh. The context is right there. And what would have been a super frustrating investigation becomes a simple 30-second fix. Done. But this is about so much more than just catching errors. It's about being able to actually steer the budget, not just write its history. Think about it. You can't steer a ship by only looking at the wake it left behind you. And that's really the core issue. A monthly review turns you into a historian of your own spending. You're just documenting stuff that's already happened. But a weekly review, that gives you data that's fresh enough to actually act on. You can see if a category is trending over budget in week 2, not after all the money's already gone. And then there's the whole attribution problem. Oh, this is a big one. You know, every expense has a story, a person, a project, a reason. But after a few weeks, remembering the specific why behind every single charge is, well, it's nearly impossible. Who was that team lunch for? Which client did we take out? What project was that software for? By just closing that time gap, you keep everyone's memories sharp. The whole review process stops feeling like an interrogation and becomes a quick confirmation. Yep, that was for the Alpha project. Correct, that lunch was with the new client. It's so much smoother, faster, and way more accurate. Okay, I can hear you thinking it. This is the big objection, right? If a monthly review is already such a pain, doesn't doing it 4 times as often just sound like a complete nightmare? It really feels like you'd just be adding more work to everyone's plate. But here's the thing. That's a total misconception. If reviewing expenses is painful, it's not because you're doing it too often. It's because the tools you're using, like those clunky old spreadsheets, are making it way harder than it needs to be. The problem isn't the habit, it's the system. With the right tools, the effort for each person becomes almost nothing. Get this, logging an expense can take as little as 15 seconds. When data entry is that quick and easy for your team, all the information you need for a review is just there. It's already captured and waiting for you. And that completely transforms the review itself. That 3-hour deep dive at the end of the month, that turns into a quick 20-minute scan of a dashboard that's already organized for you. It's not a project anymore. It's just a simple, low-effort habit. So, how do you actually make the switch? How do you do this? Well, the key is to build a super simple, repeatable system that feels like just another part of your routine, not some big, awful chore. Here's a great way to think about it. It's like the difference between a weekly stand-up meeting and a massive monthly status report. The stand-up is quick, it's forward-looking, and it keeps everyone on the same page. The status report is this long, backward-looking document that takes hours to put together. You want your expense process to feel like that stand-up. And the system itself could not be easier. Seriously. Step 1, pick a day, say Friday morning. Make it consistent. Step 2, block just 20 minutes on your calendar. Make it a recurring event. And step 3, just pull up your dashboard and review the summary. That's it. That's the entire system. And it really all comes down to this one powerful idea. Consistency beats intensity. You do not need a 3-hour session of financial archaeology once a month. You just need the simple consistency of a light 20-minute check-in every single week. It's less work, gives you way better information, and it puts you back in the driver's seat. So the question isn't whether you have time for it, it's whether you can afford not to.